Hey guys, Bart from TST Industries here. In this video, we're going to show you the installation of this Gen 2 flasher relay on a Honda CBR300R and also the 250R. So our relay comes with a sub harness that enables you to get this relay plugged into your electrical system. Now, why do you need a sub harness? These bikes come from the factory with a 9-pin flasher relay, and currently there's no other company out there that reproduces the 9-pin flasher relay that works with LED signals. This is what happens when you have LED signals wired into your signaling system. They flash faster than the OEM rate of 85 cycles per minute. And with our kit, you can restore your flash rate to 85 cycles per minute or regulate it and fine-tune it to your liking. I think that this install takes about 15 minutes, so let's begin. Due to the design of the OEM signaling system, the signal lamp can only operate in running and signal mode as shown here. This means that during signaling, your signal lamp will alternate from dim to bright and not on and off as on other bikes. Depending on which other components are installed on your signaling system and or the condition of the bike's battery affecting system voltage, you may encounter a strobe effect after each signal cycle. If this occurs and you want to tune it out, you will need to adjust the flash rate dial inside the relay to a position that does away with the strobe. The adjustment procedure is shown later in this video. A good tip here is to adjust this with the bike running so that the charging system is active. So we're going to begin this procedure by removing the fasteners accessible from the outside here. I'm going to start with the push fastener on the inside of this panel here. And then using a 5mm Allen, I'm going to work my way through all these outer fasteners here. And there's one more push fastener here in the center, joining the belly in this area that we'll need to take out. All right, now we're going to move into the inside. So there is another fastener right here that takes a 5mm Allen. And now we will need to undo the wires from the signal on that side fairing. So just get these out, and this will enable the signal to come off with the fairing. So now I'm gonna loosen up some of this stuff. All right, so there is another fastener that we need to take out. It's an Allen fastener. It's a little hard to see. I actually have to access it from this side. All right, so now that should be it. We just need to get all the clips out, and I will begin at the bottom here. That just unclips like this. And now there's a series of clips. I'll show you guys those clips in a second. If you pry up on this portion here, away from the tank, it actually separates enough here. And now I have a trick here to not scratch up this panel while prying away from it. I will use a little bit of painter's tape and then a flathead screwdriver. Get the flathead screwdriver underneath and pry away. There's a series of clips in there that I need to clear from between this panel and this panel And that's the trickiest portion here. All right. Now this is free. This whole panel comes off just like that. And then we need to rotate it and pull it down because there's another clip here and also a series of clips here along the headlight. So I'll rotate this way and pull this down and wiggle it around a little bit. And now that will be free to come out. Put this fairing to the side. Before I do that, I'll show you guys the clips that I just disengaged. So there's a push clip here that fits into this geometry. That just simply pulls out. But here and here, you have geometry that clips around this flange shoulder and into some of these voids. So you could see them here. That actually fits in and drops in to these holes. So that's why I got a screwdriver in there and pried up and over, and that took these clips up and off their captive geometry. And the clips in the front here, they basically, these engage over the headlight like this. So they need to be taken off this way, and rotating this fairing this way clears these as well as this clip from within here in one shot. So pretty simple, just takes a little bit of patience. Put it to the side, and we're going to identify our flasher relay. So here it is, this box right here. Don't confuse it with this. Within here you have two small relays. This is not what we're looking for. All right, so once again, box is right here. Once you remove the boot, you'll see this plug. We will press on the locking feature like this and withdraw the plug. And as you can see, there are 9 pins in there. This is a 9-pin relay. We will not be discarding this. This will be reused. We will just piggyback another circuit on top of it. So here what I'm going to do is flip this boot inside out so that it's easier to work on this plug and the wires, and then we will proceed with the next steps. So now we will need to identify a few wires that we will be working with in this 9-position plug. So if we look at the back of the plug where the wires enter the plug, you see the key for the lock. This is our positioning method. So right below it to the left, you have a gray wire that will need to come out of that plug. To do that on these Sumitomo type plugs, you will need to insert a small screwdriver, like a micro flathead, or a pin into this slot right next to the rectangular pin acceptor in the plug. Once you insert that in and pry this way, it resets the pin on the crimp and allows it to come out. All right, so before we go any further, I just want to show you guys exactly what happens as you're resetting this crimp lock within the plug. So you're basically sliding your screwdriver in along this tab here, and as you pry away, this gets pressed in and gets released from the plug. So now we will take TST Industries sub harness, and the relay kit comes with some heat shrink tubing, so we'll insert that over the white portion. We'll join these crimps together. And now we will slip the heat shrink over that, and you could either use a heat gun. If you don't have a heat gun, you can use any other heat source like a lighter even. Just be careful not to overheat or use too much flame on this. So the heat shrink will do two things. It will insulate your connection and also help keep it stay together during writing vibrations. So now we're going to identify the other plug we're going to be working with, wire rather. So again, on the back, looking at the lock, just below it to the right, you have the black wire. So we're going to do the same thing to unlock it. I'm going to slip the little screwdriver or pin, if you have a pin, into this slot here and pry away. That unlocks it, makes it come out. And now we will grab the heat shrink tubing, came with our kit, slip it over the black wires of our TST Industries sub harness, plug this crimp into the crimp we took out from the OEM plug. And we'll just repeat the whole procedure with our heat shrink tubing. And now there is another free end from the sub harness, black wire. It looks exactly like the crimp that we took out of this plug. We just need to replace it in the same position that the black wire came out of. So once again, we will look at the lock down below to the right, and that is where we're going to insert this crimp. Now remember, this is directional, so you want to make sure that you have the little tab towards where the locking feature is on the plug, and make sure that it clicks and doesn't withdraw. So now at this point, we can plug our Gen 2 flasher relay in, and also plug the OEM relay back in, and we get to test the system now. So since we removed the signal lamp on the left side of the bike, we're gonna have to test the system on the right side. So it looks like it's flashing at the correct rate, and the rear signal is flashing as well. It looks like the relay conversion went well, and we could now either opt to adjust the flash rate on our new relay or just close everything up if 85 cycles per minute is the rate that you are after. So before we go on and do that, I will show you guys how to adjust the flash rate so that you get the full functionality of your new relay. I'll just use that same little screwdriver to slip off the gray cap off of our relay. Now it's very important to make sure that none of these components touch ground anywhere or any other wires, otherwise you might blow a fuse. So now I'm going to power up the bike, turn on a signal. Now our closest signal is on the other side. So I will just watch the reflection on the wall. For this adjustment, we will be using a small Phillips head. We will be turning this dial here. Turning it to the right slows down the flash rate. You can see the flash rate is very, very slow. Turning it to the left or counterclockwise makes it very fast. So here you get to adjust the flash rate to your liking. Or like I said, you could just leave it as it comes, and that's 85 cycles per minute. Right now I'm just gonna pretty much keep it at the OEM rate. Power down the bike, reassemble the relay. On the inside of this gray cap, there is a channel that's provided to fit our circuit board. And once that all goes together, just press it together, it makes a snapping noise, and now it's ready to be installed on the frame. Before I go and install it on the frame, I'm just gonna put this boot back over the plug. And now I have a few more wires coming out of there, so it might be a little cumbersome, but it looks like it fits okay. I'll put that back in the frame. And now we can just find a suitable location to attach this guy. So my personal recommendation for the location of this relay is these two harnesses right here. And the reason is you're not mounting the relay to any hard component of the frame, and these two harnesses will provide a little bit of vibration damping. So what I'm going to do here is pass one of these wire ties around these two harnesses, and the back of the relay has a clip. Get this wire tie around, and before I tighten it down all the way, I'm just going to get it here in a location that I know it'll lay flat, and just make sure that everything looks good. And I think this is up to my satisfaction now. That's ready to go. And the only thing that remains to be done is the reassembly of all these components that we took off. All right, so in the reassembly, there are a couple of things that have to happen almost simultaneously. So for now, I'm not gonna bother with the reinstallation of the signal connections. We have plenty of access to all those components after the reassembly of the fairing, so we will do that then. Right now we will focus on engaging these two clips in the front with the headlight, while at the same time inserting this ridge here underneath this feature of the upper fairing. And at the same time, we have to get this boss to fit inside this slot here. So let's now do that. I will first get these and these aligned, and then get that ridge under this upper fairing here. And now down below, I will make sure that that tab boss fits where I just showed you before it has to fit. And I think I've done that here. So now we can proceed towards the back. Now we'll have to make sure that this portion of the fairing here goes on top of this part protruding from the tank, while at the same time making sure that this flat portion, this flange of sorts, goes underneath this feature of the mid fairing. All right, and now I've aligned this screw hole with its threaded boss, and things are starting to come together. I'm gonna grab this panel and pull it, actually squeeze it with the outer fairing, and now those two clips that we had to pry open with a screwdriver in the disassembly just re-engaged. So now this reassembly is coming back together. Now down at the bottom here, we'll need to make sure that these features align here, but before that, make sure that the inner fairing actually goes on top of this mount. So we'll need to flex around it and get it on top of that. And now it's looking like my screw holes are aligning even more. Now we have one last set of clips that need to come together. You'll have this round feature that has to go underneath the right side fairing. At the same time, there is, in this location, just below this surface, there's a clip that protrudes down and has to go into this rectangular window, and at the same time you have this tab that has to slide underneath here. So let's do that now. And that was pretty easy. So now I'm gonna get one of these push fasteners that we took out previously, and now they've been reset by pressing the center. So we need to open them back up by taking the plunger out, and that gets placed in that hole, and press the center. Now it's locked. I'm gonna do that same thing with the other push fastener that goes inside this panel here. It's actually the first fastener we took out in the disassembly. All right, and everything's still looking really good here. I'm gonna proceed to replacing the screws. Now there are a couple different screws. So we need to identify which screw goes where. There's one that has no shoulder at all. See, this one has no shoulder here, whereas this one has a small shoulder, this one has a larger shoulder, and this one has a really, really big shoulder. This screw is located within, from the inside of this fairing. So let's start with that one since there's only one like that. And for this one, I've resorted to a different tool, one that allows me more access. Now I'm going to take the other screw that we only have one of, the one without any shoulder. And that one actually fits up here. And then we have one with a small shoulder. Is an M6. The remaining two are M5. They're just smaller diameter. So the last M6 will go in this location here. And these are actually identical, so we don't need to distinguish between them. One goes here in this location. Sometimes these things need to be flexed so that the screw actually goes through the center of the hull. Otherwise you can't engage the thread. And then the last screw here will need to be fastened through the bottom here into that tab that we needed to engage with the upper fairing. All right, now all our fasteners are in. We need to reconnect our signal. If you're using one of our TST Industries signaling systems, yellow will be positive, and that will connect to the orange lead on this bike. And then black is the negative. And the signaling system on this bike actually has green for ground. And as always, making sure there are no protruding metal connectors. Don't want to short anything out. Now I will get this routing clip back into its place and bunch up the wire from the signal around the routing clip that bends in. And I think that's it. All right, so we'll do the final inspection here, making sure that all the equipment we worked on works properly. We have front signals, rear signals working. It looks good. Final inspection of the panels we've disassembled. Everything looks good. So this installation is complete. Bike is ready to go. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and see you guys next time.